Welcome back everybody to our intermediate and advanced civil 3D training series. In the previous video, we built our first intersection. We looked at all the options, all the offsets, all the curb return radiuses, talked about targeting and fixing the targeting and making it look half decent. This video, we have a slight problem to fix with the intersection itself. Now, just to show you again on the object viewer, and because my surface is exaggerated, it goes flying off to space. But we see that we have our curb or our median assembly here, and then we have that median assembly elevation actually directly ties into the centerline elevation here. Now this is all handled through our assemblies, and the reason it's doing this is because we have our assembly with the median with the base point of the assembly at the top of the median, and we have the assembly for the intersection here with the base point for that at the top, the high point of the road. Now these are going to be two very different elevations, and the easiest way that I've been able to figure it out is with a polyline. We can draw a polyline from there to there, and I'm going to draw a polyline from there to there as well. And I'm going to fillet those together with just a radius of 0 to find out where that theoretical high point would be on our assembly. So if these lanes were to continue up, this is where the elevation would be. Now we need to figure out the elevation difference between the high point of the road and where we should move the median. So essentially this marker needs to be located somewhere around there. I'm going to not measure the distance. I'm going to draw a polyline across. Now this becomes a little bit more difficult because this assembly piece is sloped at 2% and there's not much we can do about that. We can't make it be flat. So I'm drawing a line at the top of my curb and gutter, so I know where the high point of the road actually is, and then there's a point here. So I'm going to measure the distance, and if I do this correctly, that distance is 0.13 in my case. So I can then go and select just the median, the center median assembly, and I can raise that up. I'm going to turn polar back on. Not my O-snaps, my polar. And I'm going to raise that up, straight up 0.13. So I want that road's, the median to be 0.13 meters higher than my edge of asphalt, or my road center line. So that drops the tracking point of the assembly to right here. And if I go back over to my intersection, now nothing has happened because I haven't rebuilt it yet. So under corridors, Taradale subdivision corridor, I'm going to right click rebuild. And give Civil 3D a minute. I have to probably rebuild my West 64th intersection. Make sure everything's rebuilt and updated. And we can see that actually the road here has now tied in. So that 0.13 meter change in elevation, that is essentially the distance from the top of this median to the top of the road elevation center line. Now we can see that these roads, the primary collector follows through nice and smoothly. We have no bumps. We've got no speed bumps. We haven't changed the elevation of the center line itself because we modified the assembly with the median. We've bumped that up by the 0.13 meters. Now there are some tie-in issues around the corners, which we can take a quick look at here now. If you do this in your corridor surface or the complete design surface, it doesn't really matter. I like to modify the corridor surfaces. So I'm going to select my West 64th intersection, and I'm going to turn it back on through my layer manager. And Civil 3D, as we see, doesn't create layer names properly when we make surfaces from corridors. But before I go and change anything, I'm going to go into corridor properties and I'm going to change my frequencies. I'm going to set all my frequencies to 1 meter or a half a meter, whatever you need to do to have it give you a slightly better definition. Now I'm going to go into my surface style. So this is the West 64th intersection surface. I'm going to turn triangles on and hit OK. Now we see triangles should follow along with a consistent nomenclature. So this line here will be the edge of asphalt. The triangles are going to continue on edge of asphalt, edge of asphalt, edge of asphalt. All those will be connected. And then we see right here, we get to this spot and they're not connected anymore. So that could cause us some weird issues. Bottom of gutter, the bottom of the gutter should carry along. It doesn't in here. And because we have two different curb and gutter widths, we have a residential gutter connecting to a straight face gutter. There's going to be a little bit of wonkiness in here as well. The easiest way to fix this, again, wait till your intersection is completely done. Wait until you're done rebuilding things, because as soon as we rebuild it again, the edits are going to potentially disappear. So I'm going to select my surface. I'm going to go through my tool space, my West 64th intersection, expand my definition, right click on edits, and add a line. I want to sketch this curb and gutter line, essentially goes from here to here. My edge of asphalt line goes from here to here. So I'm redefining some of these triangles. And I know it's hard to kind of see cyan lines on cyan lines, but if we look over here as well, we can see that we have some additional locations that are not tying together. So I am tying together points that would be similarly named. Now, if I object viewer this, we're not going to take a look at the sidewalks because, again, it's two different elevations, two different things tied together. I'm going to specifically look at my curb and gutter, and that is definitely a lot cleaner, except for the transition from the rolled curb and gutter to the straight face. The same thing could be done with sidewalks where you're tying together, again, two different elevations. We would build a little bit of a ramp in there, make it some smoother, and we can do that with adding triangles, adding those lines, maybe adding feature lines, doing some of those additional options. So I'm going to turn the triangles off on this surface. I'm going to freeze that surface off, and I want to turn my complete design back on. So I'm just selecting it through my tool space and I'm turning the layer on really quick right through there. This will also pick up the edits as we've pasted them together. All right, let's go and quickly create the East 64th intersection. So I'm going to use the create intersection command, and we're going to see this one's going to be a lot faster. I'm going to snap it to the endpoint. I'm East 64th intersection. Make sure that's design. I'll change my offset parameters. Offset value 4.25. Nope, sorry, 9.45 on this one. These are changeable afterwards, and I'll show you here as soon as I'm done where we can change them. My curb return parameters, the 9 meter radius, the 9 meter radius. We'll hit next. This time I'm going to select in this drop-down arrow my program data, the primary collector to residential street that I already used, and it should load that up in here. And I'm going to click create intersection. We're going to have to go through again and remove those width targets on the three pieces. So into corridor properties, and I'll do the 64th Avenue extension. I'll make this a little bit bigger. Under targets, turn off my left lane and turn off the left lane, turn off the right lane, hit OK, go to the middle one. I want to turn off the right lane only. I'm not touching the left side as the same as the previous one. And on the right hand side, we're turning off the left lane and the right lane as well. We'll hit OK. We are going to rename the corridor since Civil 3D doesn't name them. And I'm also going to create a surface. Oops, this is the east. I'm also going to create a corridor surface with the top links as well. We'll hit OK and rebuild. And everything should be updated and Civil 3D will suck it back in. I'm going to freeze off that east intersection and I'm going to then paste it into my complete design. So I can add East 64th. And then we would have to take the time to tie these locations in to the edges of the intersection corridor. So we'll go through and do that quickly. And I will pause the video and I'll be right back. All right, I've matched the 3 corridor ends in. I'm going to come into corridor properties and I'm going to change the frequency under the parameters tab. I want these all to build at the standard 1 meter that I've been using. I'm going to save my drawing. And then I'm going to run an object viewer on this and take a look at that. That warning that pops up, an error occurred during save. We recommend you close your program. I just tend to ignore it. I haven't ever seen it cause a problem. Doesn't mean that there's not a problem, but I've never seen it actually cause a problem. And to make it go away, restart Civil 3D. So we've added that east intersection in now. We have a nice transition from our primary collector to the east side. We have a transition from the primary collector to the west side. We didn't have to fix the assembly again because we did that in the previous step. Now, if we take a look at the profile views, we take a look at this one here, we will see that we're now constrained on the left side and we are now constrained on the right side. We cannot change those slopes of the road where the locks are. And again, leave them locked together. Don't go modifying them. None of this has been locked because this profile, the elevation is being controlled by roughly in here and roughly over here somewhere. So where they're tied together, it's the 64th Avenue extension is guaranteeing where these are located. All right, the next thing we're going to do is Civil 3D builds these intersections and it builds it essentially in 3 pieces. So we're going to modify this one. I'm not going to bother modifying the left one. The steps will be the exact same. But we have our primary collector with the median, we have primary collector with no median, and we have primary collector with median. Where I have these bull noses is essentially where the median needs to stop. So we need to go in and modify our intersection assemblies. And that is why we made, we have the median one, we have the non-median full-size one, and then we have the intersection specific ones. So I'm going to come into corridor properties. And what I'm going to do is start modifying this. So my start station is 443. My end station, however, I want it to be where that bullnose ends. I'm going to insert a region after, which is my primary collector no median, and that is going to fill the gap. So if I click OK and rebuild now, I've cut the median back to this location. I've inserted another piece that essentially fills the remaining gap. I'm going to do the same on the right hand side here. So my last one, I want the start station of the median to be at the end of the bull nose. And then I want to insert a region before, which is my primary collector, no median. And I don't need to worry about setting up targets because I built all the lanes right into my assemblies. So we have the lane coming through. It briefly stops right here because the way Civil 3D has stretched it to the extension. We haven't added the additional lane in here. If you wanted to go ahead and do that, then you just wouldn't need a target. That's perfectly fine as well. All right, to quickly wrap the video up, let's save the drawing and we are going to create this final intersection. Again, that warning came up, just ignore it. All right, under the create intersection command again, I'm going to create it right there. This is going to be called Taradale Place and Way intersection. I'll click next. Taradale Way is my main design. Taradale Place is my secondary. My offset parameters are 4.25. And I'm now remembering I forgot to show you where to change this afterwards. So we'll hit OK. Curb return parameters. Residential to residential also happens to be 9 meters where I live. Click OK. We'll click next. My curb return fill it right. And it's pulled the primary collector ones. However, we can change this to residential street. And then we want residential street, curb and gutter on the left. Residential street, curb and gutter on the right. And you can save this as well. Residential to residential. And then I'm going to click create an intersection. All right, Civil 3D has built us an intersection here. However, it's not great. We see that we have overlapping corridor pieces here. We have cyan lines going through cyan lines, more cyan lines up here going through more other cyan lines. So how you want to handle this, it's completely up to you, really. Different jurisdictions maybe handle it different ways. What I tend to do is remove this lane right here from the corridor itself, which actually fixes most of the problems because this is already targeting the edge of alignment and edge of alignment here. So that assembly that we've already made would be this one, for example, residential street right side only, or the left side only if we're zero elevation or zero station is up there. So into my corridor properties I go for the intersection. I'm going to click on pieces till I find the one I want, this one here, and I'm going to change the assembly to residential street, that would be left side only, sorry. Apply and rebuild, and we should see most of it disappear. And if I hit OK, we don't have any overlapping anymore. There still happens to be a little overlapping because things aren't completely targeted, but we are going to go into corridor properties. I'm going to change my frequencies to 1. And I'm going to make a surface, again with the top links. I will call it Taradale Way Place Intersection. Hit OK and rebuild. Now, if we take a look at this in 3D, we do have a little bit more fixing to do. And actually, Civil 3D has created it properly. There is no jump there. There's a nicest tie-in. Again, we'd have to fix triangles, but we've done that previously. So now I'm going to freeze this surface, the one that was just made, and see if I can grab the right one. Nope. And I'm going to paste this surface in to the main road design. All right, to wrap this video up, I'm going to quickly show you how to adjust the curb return profiles if you mess the offsets up, if you mess the radiuses up. There's a couple ways of doing this. You can click on the blue intersection marker right here. We can right click, and there's intersection properties. We can change the profiles that are being used. If we right click and go offset parameters, we can come in here and let me drag that over and say that this is actually 5 meter offset. We can come in here and dynamically change these, and Civil 3D will update and rebuild. Curb return parameters, same thing. Here's our 9 meters. There's our 9 meters. Say it happens to be 10. And it's just a quick rebuild of your intersections. These forever stay out of date, but corridors, we can rebuild all our corridors, and I see that I didn't rename that last one. But I'm going to rebuild all my corridors. We'll take a quick look at this in 3D. We'll do Object Viewer. And if we zoom in on this top intersection, we now have a relatively smooth, well-defined road. Obviously, there's more tweaking we can do. There's a lot more in depth we can do. We can, most of this stuff, the triangles that we see here, I wouldn't worry too much about because this is exaggerated 10 times. If we shrink it down to the 1 times exaggeration, you won't really see it. But I would clean up the triangles around here. I double check everything, make sure there's no bumps, no lumps, clean some triangles up here, there, wherever I need to. Tie these back together because we added this intersection in, which changed the grade of the road. So there is a lot of back and forth. There is some tying together of items and moving back and forth. And again, just shut the pieces off in your corridor, force these to update, and go from there.